Yes, we are back on the SEAT Leon in today's video, and if you didn't see the last video of revealing the car, go click in the top right hand corner. But to give you a quick idea, it involved a lot of rust, as you can see here. Now, I've bought a load of parts to rectify that issue, and I've just got to hope it's all going to go well. Because one of the things I didn't do when we had this up on the ramp last time was check my mounting points. Now, where obviously the subframe, the rear axle bolts to the chassis, like here for example, I'm really hoping they will come undone, because that will pose a massive problem if they don't. But it's one of them, I didn't want to check it because I'd have to take it off. It's just one of them pain in the ass things, but yeah, we'll just have to hope it's all good. So we've got all these bolts here as well, that one there. So there's probably about 5 or 6 on each side. So that's one of the first things we're going to be doing. I'm not going to go too mad. This is not going to be like a full restoration. It is a 15-year-old car at the end of the day that's only worth about 4 grand. So I'm not going to spend hours and loads of money completely resealing the underside. We'll just do what we can to prolong the life as long as it's all good. I'm just going to jump in there, guys, because the S3 is officially up for raffle on Compete for Cars. Now, I'll put the link in the description. I can't believe I finished this car 4 months ago, and it's just been sat there waiting for this moment so I can raffle it off to one of you guys. So let me just talk you through the spec quickly, and you'll notice there will be a few changes since I last had it up. And there's one major change you'd have noticed since you last saw the car, and that is the wheels. So I've actually got rid of the Revo alloys and fitted these are actually facelift 8V Black Edition alloys, but I think it complements the Ali styling pack really well, and I think it actually is a really good looking car. So let me just talk you through the spec of the car if you want to know. It's got LED uprated headlights, obviously Black Edition alloys now. We have folding mirrors, we have privacy glass. On the exterior, that is pretty much it, but it is on the interior where the spec is really good. So starting off here, we have folding mirrors, we've got keyless entry and start, we have the S-Tronic DSG gearbox, we've got super sport seats, we have Bang & Olufsen sound system, and we have the technology high package as well. We have front and rear sensors, and we've got the comfort auto headlights. So it's a really high spec car, HPI clear. I believe it's done 63,000 miles, 64,000 miles on the clock. It's a 2014 on a 64 plate, and the other thing I've done is fit a new rear bumper as well because it was dented here at the back. So as you can see, that is all now been fixed, and I've polished up the exhaust pipes as well. So this is a really nice car. So as I said, the link is in the description. Go grab your tickets. They are £1.99 each, and there's only 12,500 for sale. So this is the biggest competition I've done to date. So yeah, go grab yourselves a ticket. So a quick recap or overview of what we've got in this bottom box here and this box here should be all new subframe components. This whole bit here, I mean, you'll see it better when we get it off. There should be all new bushes as well. We have a couple of wings, which I'm going to paint myself, and we have a Scorpion non-resonated catback system. Massive thanks to Scorpion for supplying this. I'll put the links in the description for them as well. We've also got some parts that I've got to pick up tomorrow. I've got 2 dampers. I've got to go pick dampers up because they won't send them in the post because they're gas, which is annoying. So I've got them coming. What else we got? We got disc and pads all round. I haven't ordered tyres, but we will need some tyres as well. Well, I've got my list over here, you can see. That's all the stuff we're doing. Right, we're going to start things off by seeing if we can crack off all these bolts, because that is going to be the main problem I see at the moment. Well, don't get me wrong, I've never done a rear axle replacement, so... Well, hello, it's coming undone, but whether it's breaking or not is another question. Although that feels alright. That feels alright. No, that's coming undone alright. Sweet. So I think there's around 12 bolts in total. I just need to hammer my socket on each one just to crack them all off, just to make sure they're all going to undo fine. And to be fair, they all undid absolutely fine. So there we go, unboxed everything. Come with way too much bubble wrap. But I was better safe than sorry, I suppose. So we've got our rear subframe here, got our buckets for our springs. We have the rear anti-roll bar. Well, we've got a little drop links there anyway. We don't have a rear anti-roll bar, so I'm going to have to probably clean that up and paint it. And we've just got our arms here as well, and that side. So I will need to remove this housing here, but that's only because this sits inside it and I can't see another way that it bolts in there, so I think I'm gonna have to take it out. As I said, I've never stripped a rear axle before on any car, I don't think, but I'm doing a classic bloke and I refuse to look at instructions until I need them. Well, until it's too late, basically. So I've just taken off the rear wheels, and one of the issues I'm gonna have, because we're gonna have to drop the whole rear axle, so it includes the hubs and the rear discs and brakes, etc. We need to disconnect the brakes. Oh, I've just noticed I have one non-red caliper and the rest are red. It's this connection here that I'm concerned about, because we're gonna have to remove that because it's the brake line that's connected to the car. And as you can see, look, it looks very rusty. So I'm not sure if I'm gonna be able to get that out without damaging it. I hope so. But yeah, once we've got all those unbolted, we'll just drop it straight from the dampers as well. So there's 2 bolts in there for the rear damper, get them undone. And yeah, once we've undone all the bolts for the subframe, which I have cracked them all off now, the whole thing should, once we've disconnected the brakes, just drop down onto the floor. So I'm going to try and remove these brake lines without damaging them, but they're just so corroded. I just don't think it's going to be possible. I spent ages trying to finesse it and get it out, but in the end, a little tap with a hammer ended up just piercing the brake line, and it just started leaking brake fluid. So the fact that this is a major safety item, it's just not worth the risk. I am going to replace it all. And then just removing the handbrake cable, because that is connected to the car, is just need to tip the brake caliper forward, pull the cable out, and it just pops out. So I ended up having to cut the brake pipe, as you can see there, look, just with a pair of side cutters. As soon as I tried to start getting this connector out, it just started leaking brake fluid. So the connections are obviously too corroded, and a little bit of movement made them leak. So best off just to renew those. I've also removed my ABS wire here as well. So that should be everything now linking us to the car. The only thing I've got to do is remove all the bolts and the damper and the exhaust, actually. Removing the exhaust was tricky because in the centre section, instead of a clamp, they've welded the pipe. I don't actually have an exhaust cutter, so I had to kind of use my little disc grinder. Eventually got it off, but yeah, it's just a bit of a pain in the arse. And that also exposed the fact that the downpipe was very weak and rusty and requires attention too. Well, I managed to get the exhaust off. I ended up having to completely butcher it because it was welded on, and I don't actually have an exhaust cutter. I have ordered one, but that doesn't help me for now. Upon doing that though, I've realised that my exhaust flexi on the downpipe's knackered anyway. There we go, look, and also in there, if you can see, it's also come away, so the flexi is pretty much completely detached from the exhaust. A new exhaust, obviously not going to happen. Even a second-hand cat you're looking at about 300 quid off a Golf R. Don't really want to spend that, so I've ended up buying a flexi, and I'm gonna take this whole system off. I'm gonna weld in the new flexi, and hopefully that will sort that issue. 20 quid for that, so that's good. We are now in a position with the exhaust off that we can drop this rear axle, so I'm gonna try and get a couple of axle stands, see how we get on. So all I've got to do now is just remove all my bolts. They're already loose, so the axle stands are in place holding the axle up. I've removed all my connections, such as the ABS sensors, the brake lines, the handbrake cable, and also there's a level sensor for the xenon lights at the front. We had to unplug that as well. That was hidden, so I nearly forgot about that. But yeah, once all the bolts are out, I can just literally lift the car off the axle, making sure everything's clear. Also remove the 2 dampers, two damper bolts each side as well. So that's now the rear axle dropped down. I've somehow got to get it off the axle stands though, but it's kind of dawned on me the size of the task. This may be a labour of love, because not only have I got to now find out whether we have any issues with the rust up there, I've also just come to realise that I've got to dismantle the rear hub and wheel bearing, ABS sensor, and take everything off the old axle and transfer it over to the new one, and just look how rusty it all is, look. So this is going to be fun. Oh God. Cool, I'll tell you what, days like today are tough, and that is where Y-Food, today's sponsor, come in great. This is a hard job, it's a pain in the arse, I don't want to go out, I'm filthy, I can't be asked to go out and cook, so these drinks are perfect. They are a meal replacement drink, not to be confused with a diet shake. They'll just sort you out for 3 to 5 hours, replacing any meal you want, whether it be breakfast, lunch, or dinner. They got 26 different vitamins in there, high in protein, high in fibre, they're lacto-free, they're gluten-free, you don't have to keep them in a fridge, and you got loads of different flavours. At the moment, guys, they are doing a happy banana and a cocoa bundle. It's normally 10% off, but using my discount code salvage10 you get another 10% off on top of that, so you get a 20% discount, guys. So as I said, they are perfect for days like today. Even if you're out in the van as well, driving a lot, can't be able to pull over and stop, you just have one of these drinks. There's loads of different flavours. They all taste absolutely great. I've been using Y-Food now for well over 3 years, I believe it is, and they do exactly what they say on the tin. So as always, a massive thanks to Y-Food for sponsoring today's video. All the links in the description, including my discount code. And the lights have just gone out. Interesting. So a massive thanks to Y-Food for sponsoring today's video. Back to the video. So I've just spent about an hour, maybe an hour and a half so far, trying to find any holes or anything like that. And good news is I can't find anything. I've cleaned everything up as best I can to get it back to metal. I'm just checking all the structural bits, and it is all just surface rust. It just looks really bad because the chassis of the car is yellow, and that is coming through. It just looks a lot worse than it is, I think. But all my chassis points are all completely intact. I've kind of sanded it back as good as I can. I'm not going to go to absolute town in it because A, I don't have the equipment, and B, it's a 15-year-old car as it is. So I think I'm just going to sand it back as much as I can, and then I'm going to get a load of underbody sealer just to seal it all up to stop it from getting any worse. So I'm going to spend some time and do the same to this side and get it all sealed up. But if you look in here, look, all the main suspension points are completely fine in there as well. They're all absolutely fine. It's just chassis that you can see in there as well. It's all sweet. It's just, yeah, it just looks worse than it is. So now I think we're going to bring it down. I need to remove the exhaust, but I'm going to leave that for the moment. And we're going to remove the 2 front wings.
So it's starting to become a bit tricky, this car. All the wheel arch liner bolts, all them little T25s, they're all completely corroded. Could not get them out, so I had to get my grinder in there, grind a slit in every head of them, and use a flat-bladed screwdriver to undo them all quite well. But yeah, I can see this car's going to become a bit of a pain in the arse.
Yeah, so I thought that wing was being removed way too easy until I found out you've got to remove the bloody side window just to get the wing off. So, where is it? Here she is. So inside the car, you've got to remove the A-pillar trim in there, and just inside you'll get access and you'll see the back of the window like this, and you've got to remove 1, 2, 3 bolts for the window, and then the window literally just pulls out, and that exposes 2 more bolts for the wing, which sits under the trim. Bit of a pain in the arse. Why they couldn't just put 1 bolt there like a normal car, I don't know. But it is off now. We do have some issues with a bit of a hole here, so I'm probably gonna have to order a thin bit of metal and weld a new piece in. This car is getting a bit, not sure it's worth it anymore. I'm not even sure if it ever was worth it. So I'm gonna move on now to the part that I haven't been looking forward to, and that is trying to remove the hub, the wheel bearing, hub carrier, everything off the old axles. And I've doused the all the nuts in penetration fluid. Hopefully that's going to help me, but it just looks bad, doesn't it?
So the hubs are held onto this axle with around about 5 bolts each. Again, luckily it looked worse than it was, and I had to use a bit of heat in the end, but once I did get the heat in there, they all came out pretty easily. It's just very time consuming.
Right, it's just too heavy for me to lift. I need to get it on the floor. I'm on my own. I don't need 95% of what's on it, so... Fall! How did that not fall? Fall! How did it go from here to over there and take me drill out? Bloody hell. I'll tell you what, this has been a tough old day. So, I've just had a nice tidy up because Look at that massive pile of mostly rust we've got there. But I've stripped off the hubs, the rear hubs off the axle. I'll tell you what, it's nowhere near as bad as it looks. Like, it looks really, really bad and weak, but in reality, it's just surface rust. And I think the colour of the car has just made it worse. Actually, I don't know about the rear axle because I'm pretty sure that wouldn't have been body colour. Although it looks like it was. It looks really pale, it's weird. But if you look at the bolts, like, all the bolt threads are pretty much brand new look. They've not been impacted at all, which just goes to prove that the internal structure of the car is, all the mountings are all spot on. So what we're going to do is clean up these hubs. I'm going to clean up as much as I can, and then obviously we're taking the discs off anyway. We'll take off the calipers, clean them up. I'm going to spray the hubs gloss black or matte black or whatever. And then I've got a few things like this level sensor for the xenon lights at the front. I've got to try and get that off, but it's on a metal bracket which is quite badly perished, so I don't know if I'm maybe able to cut it off and weld it onto the new part. I don't know. I've got this, that should be pretty simple. I should be able to just cut that off and weld that onto the new bottom arm. That's my only real issue at the minute. I don't think that's gonna be, it's gonna be mainly this, because that's quite a hard little bit to mimic. So if I can't use that, I might have to see if I buy one, I don't know. But yeah, we've got these parts that we're reusing, the shell. So we've got to basically undo the bolt to put our new arm in there, which is one of those. And the idea, I guess, will be to not build the car up like that. It will be bit by bit. So we'll start off with the main subframe here. Once we've got all the underbody sealed, we're going to just bolt that straight in, and then we're just going to add the bushes, the parts to it as we go. I've got new drop links. I've ordered a second-hand anti-roll bar because I was going to clean this up and paint it, but just looking at the state of it, I just don't think it was worth it. I don't think I'll be able to reuse these clamps, and to buy a clamp, obviously you need new bushes as well. You're looking at like sort of 40 quid, and I found a whole anti-roll bar with bushes and the clamp for £45. So I've just done that second hand, so that's fine. So moving round to the wing, yeah, fairly simple, that should just bolt on. I am gonna have to weld in a bit of metal here, but if you can see, I can't see, but there's a bit of a hole in the body there, so I'm gonna cut out a section, weld it in with, I'm gonna weld some nuts on the back of it as well, so we can just screw the wing straight on there. I haven't removed the other side yet, but I'm assuming it's probably gonna be the same deal. And I've still got the downpipe that I need to remove and weld in a new flexi as well. So if I'm honest, this is turning into a big old job. Like, this is a hard work job. I've been pretty much a day and a half on it so far. And yeah, it's a tough one, but I guess it's one of those, it's gonna be really rewarding once it's done, because the car will be, well, it'll be completely different. So I'm going to leave it there for today's video, guys. That is part one of the restoration. Part two is, yeah, we're going to get the whole body under seal, probably start getting that rear axle on so we can get the car moving, because if we have another car I need to work on, I want to get that moving. So that will be the aim of the next video, guys. Remember to go grab your tickets at Compete for Cars for the Audi S3 as well. I hope you have a good weekend, and I'll catch you next week. Cheers, guys.